biggest issue tonight for your team?
Well, it's kind of scary clear, I think, that the reality is that offensively we've got to get so much more contribution from other parts. I think that Lewis, Hansen, and Donahue feel a compelling urgency to really contribute. And what we saw them is that they're really, having to force the issue a little bit. And David ended up with 18 points, 8 rebounds, also had 5 turnovers, and had to really force that issue. Donahue with a double-double again, getting to the free throw line, and Sean Lewis with 8 points, 7 rebounds, but 5 turnovers. And so we had 10 turnovers from really our top 2 guys, and in really defense of both Sean and David, they're feeling like they've got to make plays when they touch the ball right away. And then we kind of really knew what we were getting into with this young backcourt. With Jamal, Malik, 2 true freshmen trying to run the point position, Chris O'Brien and Drake Yu, two sophomores who haven't played basketball in a year. It really kind of jumps at you that they're the flow. And we saw the same thing in Seattle. We were just able to get some easier baskets and get 76 points. Seattle jumped up and pressured it so much more that they let more court space to create baskets, where Monterey brought it back, really tried a half-court grinding man-to-man, and focused on those guys a little bit. So we've got to really continue to develop a bench. We knew that this was going to be our development portion. Last year we kind of went through the same issue the first 5 games and struggled to try to get an identity. Guys have to kind of define roles, get confidence, get caught up to the speed of the college game. Because even when you're have college experience like Chris and Drake, when you sit that year, it takes 5 to 6 games to say, oh yeah, this is the speed, this is the flow, this is and you can't simulate that game pressure in practice. And we just need to play more games. Unfortunately, the only way to get experience is to go get experience. How about that for a short answer, JD?
Catching up.
I remember speaking earlier, you talked about one of the goals for the season was to improve field goal percentage. Obviously, that was one of the killer things tonight. How can you guys go about improving that?
Well, as I kind of mentioned, is that we've got to make the pass before the pass. Our hockey assist isn't there yet. We're trying to make the pass. We're holding the ball. The first guy holds it too long, then makes the pass, and the angle for the next guy is not there. We've got to get the ball moving, the pass prior to the pass, the assist, the hockey assist, getting the ball reversed so that the defense is closing out longer and that the post position is held and they're able to get a connection quicker. So we've got to get confidence in one another and timing in one another. It happened by just getting on the court underneath the referees and underneath the crowd.
You mentioned the same 3 players were the go-to guys for scoring today. Do you think that might have been part of the problem in the second half when the scoring declined? Was fatigue setting in?
I certainly think fatigue was setting in, and I think that we started getting tighter. As the game gets closer and you sense an upset and you sense that you're losing it, you feel like, I got to do something more, and you get a little more fatigued because you're playing tighter. I mean, the cardiovascular system gets tighter, and you're like, oh man, I want to do this and I want to do that. As a Division II coach for 8 years, I can tell you that when you get that, you start smelling that blood. We beat 5 or 6 Division I teams on their home court, and when you start smelling it, the tide turns a little bit, and the Division I team goes, geez, I don't want to lose that game, and they play not to lose. Offensively, play a little bit tighter, a little more hurried. We'll learn from it. Most importantly is that the minutes that guys are getting right now just can't be coached. We can't coach. Malik Love has got to be on the court. Malik Love and Jamal Johnson played 43 minutes, 3 of them together. There's no way they're going to develop until they're in there and they take so-called snaps. They got to take reps. They've got to see the court. They got to feel the game. They've got to feel the situations. There's no other way to simulate that. Guy who said the weirdest thing about freshmen is they become sophomores. Well, basically it's playing time. What our goal this year is get those freshmen to be sophomores by January, and then really hope that they get a whole year under their belt by February, and that we can work our way into being a playoff contending team and have decent position that by the time, if we're in that position to get to the Honda Center, that they have 28 games under their belt, and they are sophomores, and those plays are different, and they've seen those scenarios, and it's got to be a patient process, and it's got to be a positive process.
You talked about the D2, and we have yet to, don't know it offhand, the last time Cal Poly lost to a D2, especially at home. But people are going to look at the box score in the morning and see that score and cringe or say, wow,
yeah,
or whatever.
should.
But what does a loss to D2 on your home floor mean to you as coaches of Cal Poly?
I mean, I don't. As a D2 coach, it was a good win, and as a D1 coach, you look like it's a loss. We have our goal sheet really about getting 7 wins this year. At home, trying to create that home court advantage. We said, hey, getting a victory over one team or another is still the same value of getting to our 7 wins. Creating that home court advantage here. So really, it's about developing our guys right now. It's much more concerned about the play of our players than somebody's speculative opinion on what a 50 to 47 score is. I mean, I've been around long enough to say I've had a lot more sour defeats than that in my life. But it's about developing those guys so that we, as we continue the year, we're just learning from that.
Coach, you talked about, excuse me, how a D1 team kind of tightens up when it's on the ropes or struggling against a D2 team. As a coach, certainly in the season, you talked about it being a work in progress. Do you just let them live and learn, or do you try to coach them up, or how do you deal with it?
It's really the nice part about college basketball these days is really the great technology we have with film and film editing, and how these kids can go through. We can go back as coaching staff and we can edit out 15 or 20 offensive sets where we had the breakdowns, and we can learn so much in a 45-minute to an hour session. And that's really what we did defensively when we squeaked out a victory against East Bay. And we had a great week of practice because we spent probably 3 hours on videotape defensively getting ready for Seattle. We improved dramatically defensively and really said, okay, we got to improve to beat Seattle. And we were able to beat Seattle, and we kind of lost the edge offensively because we spent so much time defensively. And that's kind of going back to, offense is so much more time consuming. It's 2-to-1 in the ratio of timing, especially when you have younger players or first-year players. They've got to be able to have that time. They've got to have the time in practice. They've got to have time in the game. They've got to have the reps. So number one deal is video, and number two deal is getting them back so that you've seen that scenario. You go, yeah, I learned. I didn't just make that mistake and feel frustration and the loss, but then I got to go back and you have to relive it. That's the hardest part. You have to relive it. You have to watch it. You have to emotionalize it. You learn from it. And you go, okay, now I've seen it twice. And you got to go explain it on the practice floor. You got to go routine through the practice floor. Oh, yeah, remember, you can't make that pass. It's got to come back out. So we'll get there.
Two-part question, Coach, and maybe they go together, maybe not. Were you planning to play Ben Kelly before the game? And what's wrong with Ben Eisenhart?
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah, two good questions. Yeah, we did. We thought that we could use Ben Kelly. He's a pretty good shooter. He's got some length. We thought he had a pretty decent week of practice. Trying to get some of those freshmen those valuable couple minutes to kind of see what it's like to be on that college floor. So we were able to get him 6 minutes. He got a couple shots. One looked really good. The other one was a little hurried and out of rhythm. And that's the hard part until they're on that floor feeling that rhythm. And then Ben Eisenhart, a very, very unfortunate situation, is receiving some pretty serious medication right now from a viral, actually fungal infection. It's from the San Joaquin Valley spore. He just got completely diagnosed with that and is on some good meds now. Hopefully we'll be able to have his additions. So it just brings another body to another option for us inside and so forth. But he certainly will not be traveling with us to Montana State.
When is he coming back?
There's not a timeline for that simply because he's just starting that medication now. It was one point felt like it was maybe a week away, and now it's been diagnosed correctly, so he's on a new bout of medication. Just as of today, about 5 o'clock. So that we're looking at a minimum of a week and probably closer to 2 weeks before he's in contribution mode, up to maybe 3 weeks.
And do you think a loss like this early on in the season can kind of help be an attention getter and say, these are our weaknesses and kind of help bring more awareness rather than.
Well, unfortunately, I think you're right. You know, but that's we don't want to learn by losing. But having done this for a while, ears get bigger when we get somebody's attention, and you know, just some of the offensive flow and making the pass before you're guarded and the guy's open. Those type of things, you just have to see it. You have to make that mistake and learn from it and go, okay. I don't think you can count 10 of our 54 shots that were, you know, as far as the perimeter ones. We had 3 for 20 from the 3-point line. I don't think you felt like 10 of those were really good rhythm shots. And that's what we got to get to. You've just got to be able to have the shots that you go, oh, you know, you're amazed it missed it. I don't think we felt that feeling, you know, more than 5 or 10 times. And that's what we've got to develop, that where the bench and the coaches and the fans all feel that's a really good shot. It's too bad it missed, but you know, if you do the things right long enough, we'll be in a really good position. And right now, we're learning that. We're learning the hard way with a really difficult defeat.
And as far as, you know, production from the support players, do you think they need to be creating their own shots more, or do you see them maybe shying away from opportunities because maybe the confidence isn't quite there?
Well, first of all, I just don't think there's a comfort for the speed of the game. You know, I don't think they need to create their own shot. I think they've got to be able to get comfortable with the speed defensively and offensively. What do I need to do in the speed of the game? And so, you know, when you say creating their own shot or creating their own play, I think that Malik Love is probably the Seattle game had the best opportunity of that because there was a lot more open court and he was able to, you know, use his quickness to get through the open court and have some open action to play. But the rest of them, I don't think it's an either or. I think it's a flat out, you know, it's the soup. You know, there's a broth and the meat are in there. You can't really separate it. They've got to, you know, it's got to be worked together. We've got to have those guys. They've got to be able to play the speed of the game. They've got to be able to play with the teammates. Okay, and then they got to look for themselves too. So they're just all really connected with playing time. And just there's no other way. There's not, you know, we're not changing a lot of things here. You know, a couple guys got a couple minutes. You know, we put Ryan Pembleton, the 6'10" freshman, went out there for a minute or two. Ben Kelly, the freshman, went out there for 6 minutes. Jordan Lewis is somebody that we drastically need his contribution. He was a really solid contributor last year, and Jordan's looking for a role for us where, you know, he's really got to be a steadier player, and he was very turnover prone tonight. As a junior, we know he can do better, and he will do better.
Anything else, guys? Thank you very much, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.